Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Evolving Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Bill Moss, and I'm with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Carey, and we're so excited to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, we are going to dive into a subject of a self-practice that we both teach, but we also both utilize, and many people struggle with on a regular basis. And we're going to talk about all things meditation. So we're going to call this episode Meditation 101, where we're going to, discuss the what is meditation, the challenges of meditation, and how people can get better at it, but also I think almost starting with some of the expectations that people have regarding it. I think it's one of the practices I see people want to incorporate in their life so badly, and yet they often just fail to actually do it. So we're going to explore all things meditation and hopefully give some strategies so people can be much more successful with this practice because it is such a powerful practice.
Absolutely. And one of the nice things about meditation is it's something that, it doesn't cost anything. It's not anything that you have to order. It's not anything that you have to buy. You can incorporate it immediately into your daily life. There are so many wonderful things out there as far as health practices go, but very few of them, are free, and very few of them also you can do like starting right now. So that's
That's a
one of the
good
great
that's a
things about
really
meditation.
It's a really good point. So when people are complaining about the economy or spending money on another thing, it's like that's not really required here.
Yeah, yeah. And one of my favorite things about meditation, it's one of the only things on the planet that boosts a hormone called brain-derived neurotropic factor. It's
Mm.
literally a hormone that helps make your brain make new connections so that your brain functions better. And yeah, it's just an amazing, amazing tool that will help in a lot of ways.
Yeah, meditation was actually the first, if you want to call it like spiritual practice or
Mm.
self-care practice that I started to dabble with. I was trained in transcendental meditation back in 2014, 2015, and I think I shared this on the podcast, but when I started meditating, transcendental kind of has a protocol where it seems like the standard is 2 times a day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And
Mm.
while we were doing that training, Lauren and I did it together. We got into that schedule, and I think I did it pretty much straight for like 30 days. And I stopped biting my fingernails, which was like a
Cool.
habit that I had since I was like 7 years old. It was like a nervous habit that I just kept doing. And without consciously being like, I want to get rid of this, it actually dissolved and went away in those 30 days. And if I don't consistently meditate, I'll find myself wanting to do it again. Now, I don't really do it too often. So I kind of broke that pattern, but I will notice it's much better when on a consistent schedule of meditating.
Yeah. And when's your favorite time to meditate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I always felt like I had to do it in the morning.
Mm.
Um, when and then I remember somebody, I think it was Jordan actually, Jordan Bain, our guide. I think he said, "Oh, I do so much better with meditation at night." And it was like I gave myself permission to just find the time that I do best with
Yeah.
meditation. So personally, I like to do it in the evening more so than the morning. Although that's interesting, I say that because in the last year I've probably been doing a lot more in the morning time, but just a shorter amount, maybe like a real brief 10 to 15 minutes just to like do it and not like take a lot of time. I think in the
Yeah.
morning I'm a really productive person. And I that's great that you asked that question because I give this advice to people all the time. I think a lot of times people fail with meditation because they don't find the time that, like, I don't want to say it's not almost ever convenient per se, but the
Right.
time that it just like fits who you are. And I do
Yeah.
better with meditation at night. My mind's not very good at being productive in the evening, so I enjoy doing it as kind of like my nightcap, if you will.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually like the opposite now. I'm more of a morning meditator,
That's
but before I used to be more of an evening meditator, and then it's just kind of switched. So
yeah. It's interesting.
yeah.
It's starting to switch a little bit for me too. Like I have at the beginning of the year, I had like a really strong meditation streak. I was just like half hour a day. And I think I had like 80 days straight where I did it. I was
Oh,
really like
awesome.
on it. And every so often I'll go through these really strong streaks where I do it and I find new rhythms. But when you have a streak like that, I mean, there were a couple of times I meditated at like 11:15 at night because it
Yeah,
was I
because you
needed
want
to get it.
to
Yeah, because I was committed. But dur- during those times, I've actually been exploring more of the morning since then. And I think I used to have a lot of anxiety, and maybe people can relate to this, that if I did it in the morning, I almost felt like I was missing my productivity time, and that was when I worked best and got the actionable items done more readily. That I almost felt like it would take away from my morning, but I don't feel that way nearly as much anymore.
I like the feeling of the for me, it's like before my brain really kicks in. It takes my brain a
Mm,
bit to, kick in the morning. So I like this like kind of in between time, if you will, and
yeah.
being able to like my body's up, but my brain's not fully turned on, and I find that that's a really good time for like spiritual connection for me.
Mm. Yeah, there is something really magical about the morning.
Yeah,
I think this is probably the first point of a lot of people have tried many people have tried variety of methods, let's say from like apps to YouTube, guided meditation, that sort of thing, and have found like it works or it doesn't work. But I think the
yeah,
timing of when you try meditation, the other time I really enjoy now is like over my break.
yeah,
If I have a lunch break, I really like it in the middle of the day, especially if I had a busy morning where maybe I'm managing a lot of people's minds. It feels like in practice, I
yeah,
really enjoy the decompression of the midday meditation as well.
yeah. That's a great thought.
Mm.
One, sorry, do you want to? Were you going to say
No,
something?
I was nope. You're good.
So one thing I think that people misunderstand about meditation is there's this belief that meditation is people are like, oh, my mind's so busy that like I
Hmm.
just can't meditate.
Yeah.
And the thing with meditation, it's really more about not being attached to our thoughts than it is
Yeah.
about not thinking.
Hmm.
So like you can have some days I'll meditate and my mind is just like in a very pure state and it's easy. And sometimes it's not, it's the opposite. But the thing that one of the gifts from meditation, the biggest gifts that you get from it is that it helps you to realize that you're not your mind, you're not
Hmm.
your thoughts. The thoughts can be and mind can be a bit chaotic sometimes, but you're not those things. And then you don't attach to the thoughts. And it
Hmm.
creates this freedom for you where you're like, oh, I'm not this crazy show that's going on in my mind. I'm just a human being having this experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I when I first learned to meditate, my first meditation teacher, he said the thing like the point of meditation isn't to have a good meditation. Like
Yeah.
it's not to just have some meditations are great. There's some you walk away, maybe, if there's some for guidance or information. But just
Yeah.
sometimes you walk away and you're like, that was a great meditation. And maybe it's great because it was easy, or you made connections, or you got deep into it and you went somewhere else. But I remember him saying, like, it's not the point to just do that. And the
Yeah.
other thing I love to relate to people that I heard Tim Ferriss say, who, is the 4 Hour Work Week. He's a podcaster, kind of like a biohacking ish kind of person. And I remember him saying, I think he also studied in transcendental meditation. And he said, if he spent 20 minutes of his day just simply refocusing his mind, and it was busy, and he just spent
Yeah.
the whole time, because transcendental really focuses on having a mantra and bringing your thoughts back to that mantra, um in the mind, not speaking aloud. And I remember him saying, like, well, if that's all I got, I still practiced refocusing my mind for 20 minutes. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's brilliant, that's genius. Like, even if it's very stormy in your mind,
Yeah.
you still
Yeah.
worked through that practice of like redirecting your thoughts and kind of utilizing your ability to redirect the mind. And I was like, oh, that's the point of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and when somebody has a really busy mind, it doesn't mean that you can't meditate. It often
Yeah,
means that you're gonna have even more powerful benefits from meditation. So,
totally. It is
yeah.
the way, right? To have
Yeah,
like a big, like, people
totally.
people probably do this to you all the time. I laugh every time I hear it, but they're like, "Oh, I can't do that. My mind's too busy." And you're like, that's like the sign.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that's what they say, right? And it's like if you're too busy to meditate, you need to meditate twice as long. I think that's
Yeah.
the the saying. But it's very true. It's just something that it's such a powerful tool that we have. It
Mhm.
costs nothing, but you get amazing benefits from it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're bad at it or not. It's just about it just disconnecting from the belief that you're your thoughts and not being attached to these thoughts,
Mhm.
whether good or bad.
Yeah.
And that creates freedom of the mind and mental peace and mental health too. You know, it's such a big piece as far as mental health.
Yeah, and the other part that you said that is important to remember is whether you're if you're bad at it, like, it's a practice, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that, like, love running that aren't good at running, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or enjoy pickleball, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and it's for
Absolutely.
the love of the sport, and it's like, well, what is good at it? I would
Yeah.
define being good at meditating as actually doing it each day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great definition. And it's something that like over the years, like there are times where I'm better at it than other times.
Mhm.
Like there have been many times in my life where I've meditated, meditate for hours a day, or times where I don't meditate at all.
Yeah, me
And
too.
but I've found that over the years, it's gone just having that practice in the background, it's gone consistently easier to go to those really deep states.
Mhm,
And for me, what that manifests is this like spiritual clarity typically, where
mhm.
it's just much easier to go within and get really deep answers from my intuition or to
Yeah,
really get to the root of something.
I love
So
that.
yeah, sometimes it's like we have these things going on with life, or oftentimes it's like these different situations going on, and we might be like, okay, what's really going on with this? What's my emotion
Mm,
about this thing that's happening? Like,
mhm,
what's I got triggered by X or Y or Z? Like, what's that a reflection of?
mhm.
And if you have that meditation practice, you're going to get those answers so much faster.
Yeah, that's a really great way to describe it. I remember hearing a similar teaching along the way that was like, the point is not to yeah, it's basically to bring about your discernment in the real world, in live time to be able to, like, connect in what's for your greater good and what's not, because you're
Yeah,
actually in touch with your thoughts and your emotions and what's going on. I think most people well, the world becomes busier and busier, and
right.
people are up against a lot more busyness
Yeah,
of the mind than they ever were. And that
yeah,
I think that's why it's become more popular over the last 20 years, if you will, is this like demand that's being created because of the bombardment of information. I mean, we're creating a podcast, which is more information, and so are many people. But you can just grab your phone and you can quote disconnect and just get lost in in more ideas and
yeah,
more courses and education and understanding, and then you never give your mind a break. um,
yeah. And we absolutely need that. Like the mind, like our body. Like if you imagine that we're doing physical exercise all day nonstop and you never give your body a chance
yeah.
to recover,
Hmm.
it's the same thing with our mind. Our mind just needs these periods to relax.
Hmm.
And one of the things that meditation does, it helps change the brainwave state so that your brain goes to these lower brainwaves.
Hmm.
It's literally operating more slowly. And what happens with at those lower states is that there's just such deep healing, such deep
Mm,
restoration, such deep connection. So, in order to really function at our best, you have to be able to achieve those deep states.
awesome. Yeah. And it's kind of saying that, like, when you talk about even the physical body is, I think a lot of times people don't set themselves up for success in the fact that, like, if your physical body's been really active, it's
Yeah.
you can't just go right into the practice of like, I'm going to quiet my mind. There is
Yeah.
kind of this progression of what almost needs to occur to achieve the best results in meditation. And I know you teach meditation, I teach meditation, but I think it would be good to like briefly talk about like what makes some successful components of meditation. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a great idea. So, first thing is just you just want to get comfortable. So
Hmm.
you want your physical body to be comfortable. It helps if you're sitting up. Sitting in a chair or sitting on a couch is really good. You don't want
Yeah.
to like laying down is not the same as meditation.
Mm-mm.
even though we all kind of wish it was. It's not the same, it's not the same benefit. So you want to be sitting up. You
Please
can
let
have
me do it.
yeah, have your feet on the ground, have your palms up on your lap, and the palms up is that receptive position. So we're ready to receive energy.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and then you want to become conscious of your breathing. So slow down the breathing. Start
mhm,
becoming conscious of the in breath and the out breath. Becoming really physically aware of the body. I like to imagine or not to imagine, but to just really connect as I'm doing this breathing to the weight of my body in the chair, to the feeling of my feet on the ground. I'll imagine that stress is just getting sucked down through my feet into the earth.
mhm.
So all the tension in my body is basically getting cleared and just letting go of that tension more and more. Just the first couple meditations, just letting any tension and discomfort in the body uh, be like removed. And
Mhm.
then from there, focusing on the breath more and more. And then you can relax the different body parts. You can start to work on some visualization. Where do you
Yep.
like to go with it at that point?
Mhm.
Do you have a similar like starting process there?
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly. 100% is to kind of fall into a natural connecting to the breath without a doubt, so I even simple nasal breathing in through the nose, exhaling through the mouth is such a stable rhythm that's always effective at bringing the body down. Sometimes I like to just nasal breathe too. I think it makes it almost like brings the body into a parasympathetic state slightly more efficiently. But yeah, then this actual speaking too, or quietly commanding different areas of your body to relax. There's a lot of times in, I think it's called Shavasana, right at the end of a yoga class, where you kind of like almost talk to parts of your body to like just lay
Yeah.
and like let go. That's kind of the start of a good meditation practice, is building up from finding your connection with your feet on the ground, and letting your feet know that they can relax, and then your legs relax, and working your way up. Because that always, I'm always amazed when I lead a group in meditation. We almost always do that
Yeah.
in almost any form that I teach or lead, and you can tell by the just getting through that part, people are
Yeah.
like more peaceful and more gentle, and you're like, oh, we
Mhm.
can go somewhere now, because their physical body is starting to let go. So I think that's, even if that's the practice, right? You take your
Yeah.
time and you go like toes relax, feet relax. You go just slowly up your body, commanding, like you will be much more relaxed. And you gave your mind something to do that wasn't just simply wander. I think that's where, when you were describing like this breath aspect, this commanding or talking to your body to relax, you're giving your mind something to do that is helpful. It's like when we don't know what our mind, we don't give it an assignment in some to some degree. Meditation starts, we just wander off and then sit with our eyes closed and kind of become busy internally. So those are two of the best ways to start, I believe.
Yeah, and then from there, as you start to work with this muscle, you can go so far with it. Like
Mhm.
there's many different meditation techniques that we teach and work with in the mystery
Yep.
school. But everything from astral travel to a meditation called sanctuary meditation to a
Mhm.
meditation system max meditation, or these meditations void meditation, where
Mhm.
there's all sorts of different like meditations that you can do,
Mhm.
uh, really depending on what you're wanting to work with. Like, are you
Mhm.
just wanting to purely empty the mind? Are you trying to get deeper spiritual answers? Are you trying
Yeah.
to just have a more relaxation practice?
Yeah.
There's lots of different things that you can do with it. So, but this is that beginning, that process of starting to work with this, get comfortable with this tool, so that you can then build off it later on.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one new strategy, this is my new favorite thing, is to have a minimum amount of time that I'm going to do it.
Mm,
I think if it would be more effective if people did 5 minutes of meditation per day for a
yeah,
month than if they were going to do like a half hour every week, right? It's
yeah,
like just doing, because if I get started, I'll usually do more, and I usually set like, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes, and then I end up doing it longer. But if I have that minimum time right now, it's it starts to ingrain the habit that I do it every day. So this has probably been one of my best years for meditation success. And I know that I myself based on what's going on in the world and just all the people I work with, and you can always see what you need to work on through the people you help. I've been meditating much more frequently because it's so helpful, especially as a parent. It's
Yeah.
like so helpful.
And I'm sure Ava loves it too if you ever do, like, meditations with her. I mean, what a incredible tool to give kids.
You know what's funny? I did this tonight. So I'm going to tell this story because I just think it's relevant. And maybe we think of like, yeah, Ava sits there and we like but no, but tonight I had the first like this never happened before. We were going to gymnastics and she really wanted to do gymnastics this year. She like kind of begged us to do it. And it's at a new place. And we went one time and then she was sick a week and she actually had a hurt foot, not from gymnastics. She just hurt it. So it wasn't like the natural rhythm of her going. And tonight we went and she got in her line and we're sitting there and all of a sudden like the kids walk back and she's really upset and she's like crying and she wants me to come down and I'm like, I've never dealt with this where Ava was like didn't want to go and she's like I'm just really shy and I never dealt with this and I was like cool and collective and I
Yeah.
supported her. So we didn't make it back to the class but at dinner I'm like and she couldn't pinpoint what it was why she wanted to do it, but I just started to do this practice where I asked her to close her eyes and I took her through like us going to gymnastics and her being brave and her be like doing things with ease and being excited about it. And she kept making me tell different stories where and I was like, okay, I want you to close your eyes and visualize. And we're driving to gymnastics and you're sitting on the side and you're waiting with dad and they call us down and you're like, I got this. I'm going to show them how good my cartwheel is. And I just had her like visualizing this experience and it like really snapped her out of this state. And
Wow.
I don't typically do this with her, but I've taken her through some like breathing when she's, not feeling well or looking to
Yeah.
calm down. But tonight I did it as like this guided visualization of her like not having a traumatic experience to going back to this place. And it really worked. She was like really into it and kind of excited about it. So um it's funny we're having this conversation because that experience just happened like 2 hours ago.
That's so cool, and it's so cool that you're teaching her this lesson of, like, this is how you deal with life's problems when you don't know how to when you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, I didn't know how to save her, and then I was like, "What should I do with this?" Like, it stinks. She's, like, really scared and something, kinda spooked her, or she didn't wanna go, and you don't wanna start forcing your almost five-year-old to, like, do things they don't wanna do, but she
Yeah,
really likes it, and I knew that, and I was like, let's just talk about, like,
yeah.
how can I work this with her?" And, it was, like, an hour later, and we were just at home, and we were having a good time and having dinner, and, she was, like, really into it, so there's so many benefits for meditation. There's just
Yes.
almost like endless benefits. If you even do like the mental preparation that athletes utilize, there's such high performance when people like run through their reps in their mind before they actually do it. And that can be done in like meditative processes.
Absolutely. I think oftentimes of when I think of meditation, I hear this one quote from one of our teachers. His name's Sarvamapsisamus Hideto Nakagomi, and he's
Mhm.
Japanese. He also trained as a Buddhist high priest, and he's one of the heads of the mystery school lineage. But one of the things he's said before to like the West, because in Japan it's just a very different culture, so they have kind of a different way of operating and different way of viewing the world. He's like, in the West, you guys are always wanting to meditate to get the answers about things.
Yeah.
You want to learn a meditation so you can go and get quiet and get this answer about this question you have. He's like, when I meditate so I can get answers whenever I need them. Like, so I
Yeah.
get answers all day. It's always coming through. And
Yeah.
he shared that I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it's
Mhm.
that's always stuck with me. And like having that clear channel for meditation, as you're really
Mhm.
having that clear channel, so that when challenges do come up, that you can just deal with them so much more smoothly in the moment, and that you have that right answer coming through your intuition. And the reality is that if you're not taking the time to meditate, if you're not taking that time to get calm, that inner guidance is going to get hijacked by your ego and by
Mhm.
stress and by chaos, and you're just not going to be able to get those messages through clearly.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of I remember hearing that too, and I was just like, "Well, that's why you do it. You're not doing it just to, like, get the answer in the moment, because we want those, but you want to have the right answers for your life over time, and that comes with practice, and repetition, and that's ultimately, like, meditation. It's like, we had to sum this up. It's like, first off, if you have a lot of thoughts and your mind's busy, you're a good candidate for meditation. A
Yeah.
little bit better than, like, feeling like you have to do a lot, and don't try to find all the answers, and remember it's a practice. And, like, if you can do those
Yeah.
things, you're going to be much more successful. And there is this level of, like, grace about it, right, that comes
Yeah.
from being like, oh wow, look what is going on in my mind. Like, well, I don't want to get quiet because I actually don't want to look at what's going on in my mind. And I think subconsciously that is um a popular reason that people do avoid it. I mean, I know sometimes it's hard to say, like, wow, look how negative my mind is right now.
Yeah.
Because I think it's something like, we have 60,000 thoughts every day. 95% of them are, most of them are negative, and 95% of them you had yesterday. So it's like, we just perpetually, um, are consistently repeat what we're doing mentally or in our mind as we go each and every single day. So by meditating, we start to wake up to, like, what are we thinking every day?
Yeah. Yeah. And we start breaking through that matrix, because otherwise it's like your mind can really live in Groundhog Day, like you're saying. And it's not a good it's just not a good thing. It's, for most people, especially like today's day and age, that Groundhog Day of the mind, it's that's stress, that's
Mhm,
chaos, that's overwhelm.
mhm.
Yeah, we got to break through that.
Yeah. So what are some good ways to engage with you, in the form of meditation?
Well, in the form of meditation, I mean, the big thing is that both you and I teach a class called Empower Thyself, where we teach some
Yep.
different meditation techniques and go more into it in person.
Yep.
I'm not currently teaching meditation online. I've
Okay.
done it in person, but there are other people in Boston who do teach it online.
Cool.
One of which is our guide, Jordan Bain. He teaches them, I believe, Mondays and Thursday nights for free on healingboston.com. And then
Nice.
it's something that you do online as well, right?
I'm actually not. I went back to. I've switched it up. We used to do online one week and in person the other, but currently I'm just going in person every week.
Yeah,
We brought it back to the in person. I just find it's way more effective. You can get a lot more teaching and learning and better at it when
yeah,
it's in the person. So I've kind of been over the online thing for a little bit. I might get back to that for some of my initiates and things, but that's the way. I did make a meditations free downloadable series. Maybe we can even include that in the show notes if somebody wanted to check it out. But that's one of the things Sean and I plan to do come, like, down the road, is create some courses to actually teach people how to effectively meditate, and then have some tools and resources to, continue the practice and make it a successful journey in your life.
yeah. And even customize meditations for different challenges that you're having. So if there are
100.
things going on with that things that you need support with, please let us know, because we do base the content off what we think is going to help people.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So, we've been kind of excited to just share a little bit about meditation. It is, one of the most important forms of personal development, that can affect so many aspects of another individual's life, that it is becoming more and more vital. So, if we can support you, please reach out. If there's other topics or questions you have regarding meditation, I'm sure we'll talk about it on other episodes, but we'd love to hear, what you'd like to, hear more of. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. It helps our channel as we've been growing. I think we're over 15 episodes at this point, and still going. And we've been enjoying every minute of the journey, and sharing, what it's like to be a healer, work with people who are in need to experience healing. And we look forward to connecting and going deeper with you each and every single week.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.